Okay, I'm back. Um, the straightforward version of the scene covered the important parts. Piper and the hunter still admit that they love each other, and the hunter is still like, I am so damn lucky that nothing risky happens. So when you see the chapter out, you'll understand why I was hesitant to keep that, especially since I'm streaming on Twitch. So this is the version that I finished reading earlier, and this is the version with the not sexy part. So here we go. When I wake, Piper's stirring beside me. She's warm, pressed close, and fine, apparently. She yawns, long lashes fluttering open, her sapphire gaze meeting mine. Well, hello, gorgeous. Fancy waking up to you. Her smile is sleepy with morning affection, her voice raspy, seductive, and my lips curl in response. Good morning. Waking beside her like this feels like coming home, like the most natural thing in the world. She yawns again, humming to herself as she shifts a little closer, her hair messy against her pillow. This is why I tend to keep my hair short. How are you feeling? These last few days have been rough, I sigh, relishing in the comfort of a decent mattress against my aching bones. God, yes. Rough, yes, but I don't think it's going to get any easier somehow. Unfortunately, I think you might be right. But you've more than proven that your resilience knows no bounds. You're so strong, stronger than I could ever dream of being. You won't fail. I know it deep in my bones. Lunaris is lucky to have you looking out for it, and I'm lucky to pauses, reaching out to press her thumb to my bottom lip. To call you mine. I kiss the upper digit, taking her hand in my own. I am the lucky one. To have you by my side is more than I could ever want. Her expression shifts into something a little playful. I gather I'm in trouble. You know, it's pretty early. The sun isn't even up properly. Her words carry a deeper meaning, I assume, as a gentle smile, as the smile that crosses her lips only grows. Oh, whatever could she mean? She stretches, deliberately arching her back in blatant provocation, causing something as warm as honey to settle deep in my stomach. The sight of her is enough to erase any other thoughts from my mind, and I remind myself to thank the universe for having her love me. Any ideas about what you'd like to do before we tear ourselves from these sheets, Robin? Now, this time, I'm not going to hesitate. Definitely fool around. I reach out to trail a finger over her freckled cheekbone, her tawny skin kissed pink from the warmth of sleep. I decide to toy with her because I'm fully aware of what I want to do to pass the time and the way she looks at me. I think I know what she has in mind, too. Would you like to sleep a little longer? Piper quirks a dark brow, her eyes narrowed as she shakes her head. I don't think I do, no. With a husky laugh, she kisses me, and I once again find myself hungry for the simple press of skin against skin. Her clever, weapon-tossed hands are eager to roam, and Piper shifts to sit in my lap with obvious intent. Now, this is hilarious to me, because if you'll recall, my hunter is small. She's tiny. And Piper is a good half-foot taller than her. And she's sitting in the hunter's lap. Normally, I would picture it the other way around. The usual sharpness in her gaze is gone, softer and filled with affection now. She bites her lip before she leans in once again to capture my mouth with her own. My heart pounds, my chest tight. Lips parted, breath gusting hot, lashes flickering, so close they become each other's entire world. So lost in one another that we don't hear the footsteps that climb the stairs, nor the rattle of the door handle. Uh-oh, who is it? Then a wild August appears, wide-eyed and turning a thoroughly impressive shade of pink before they swiftly step back out into the hallway, the door open barely a sliver. This is why I wanted to keep going. Oh, sorry. Piper barely flinches, turning to look at the door over her shoulder. Do you often barge into people's homes and interrupt them in the throes of passion, Valentine? She's smiling, smirking, and I'm just about willing the ground to swallow me whole. By the look that I caught upon August's face before they fled, I think we're in the same boat. I was just going to see how Robin is doing, which I can see now that she's just swell. Interesting choice of words. I hear a cough from behind the door, smiling at the thought of a flustered August. I'll just leave you to it then. Piper's grin widened, devilishly. That would be wise, dearest August. Don't worry, I'll ensure they're still in one piece when I'm finished. They mutter something inaudible under their breath before I hear the scurry of heel boots practically running down her stairs. Piper turns to me with a sigh. Where were we? I laugh at her boldness, at her ability to give absolutely no fucks about, well, anything. I love you, Piper. She leans in, brushing my lips with her own. I love you, too. As much as I'd love to, be sure it's impressive, and she knows what I'm about to say, knows that I'm right. Our notorious seeing us in such a tinkle is a little bit of a mood killer, isn't it? Actually, no. I don't think anything could make me not want you. Oh, well then. Piper moves to sit upon the edge of the bed, pushing her long hair over her shoulders so it cascaded down her back. She's perfect, every imperfect inch of her scars, her freckles, the delicious tawny hue of her skin, her messy hair. And this is why I was hesitant to keep the other version. Because in that version, she's not wearing anything. She's naked. I thought it best not to risk things with Twitch's, yeah. The other, not safe for work versions, not quite so blatant. So those I wouldn't be hesitant, but this one I would. But she's still pretty, either way. The way my eyes greedily roam over her doesn't go unnoticed. Like what you see, Very much so, actually, yes. I reach out to trail a finger down from the nape of her neck over the dip of her spine. Her cheeks turn a subtle shade of pink, and I smile as she shudders under my touch. The ability to make Piper Merriman blush is something I'll forever cherish. If only we could stay here all day, just like this. The idea of lying here with this beautiful woman and burning daylight with each other is more than enticing. However, alas, let's go save this idiot town from itself. Piper has the right idea, unfortunately. We'll have time after this is all over. She smiles at that, something soft. I really do love you, you know? I'm glad we have each other in all of this. Me too. The next few days felt surreal as I relayed my encounter with James to those who most needed to hear. The revelations were met with both shock and horror, but mostly anger. Unsurprisingly, we all found ourselves with the very same question heavy on the tip of our tongues. Why? I cannot deny that the world we live in is a terrifying and uncertain one, but it's all that I know, all that I ever have known. Finn tells me that even before the revelation date, there were unexplained disappearances, murders, grisly things found but never spoken of. Corruption is inevitable in organizations such as this one, but for something so profound and nefarious to be going on right under our noses. I can't help but wonder if the unjustified means in this little scheme that started in the brain of our leader. The cost is so high, the loss is vast and heartbreaking, and exactly when does it end? Where does the line get drawn when the divide between what's right and wrong is so very blurred? Would it have been safer for us all to live in ignorant bliss all that time? Or would they have overrun us eventually anyway? Maybe. These are the cards we've been dealt, and Harold Addington has a dirty hand. I'm still biding my time, trying to gather any final scraps of information while I wait for the word that Harry has reappeared. As I do most days now, I walk the town from one end to the other. Lunaris is easy to patrol, as small as it is, and the townsfolk seem almost relieved when I pass by. The enforcers have become such a suffocating presence here lately, and every time I encounter one, I can't help but feel like I'm being watched. Are they all in on this? That's a good question. I find myself in the woodland at the edge of the graveyard. The sun's shining, but the air crisp and cold. Grass crunches beneath my boots, and I see a path of destruction as I walk into an open clearing. Anyone else would be alarmed to see the destruction I find, would likely suspect a creature had been the one to carve jagged welts into the trunks of the trees, but I know what caused this, and it was certainly no creature. I find her a little further in, kneeling in the dirt, her head bowed. Beside her are two pieces of what once was a training sack, cracked down the center. I approach quietly, and when she looks up, I see a blankness in her eyes, her expression sour. Piper? She forces a smile, her chest heaving with labored breath, sweat thick in her flushed skin. Hello, gorgeous. She holds herself from the ground, kicking aside the splintered wood with a grunt. Then she retrieves two intact staffs from a bag nestled in a pile of overgrown grass and holds it out to me. I know you come to talk about deep shit, so how about you humor me and let me kick your arse while we're at it? Such a Piper thing to say. I keep my gaze fixed upon her as I take one of the staffs from her. So cocky. Piper shrugs, nonchalant and definitely cocky. You love it, really, don't you? Well, yeah. I stabs me with a solid thwack, the sapphire eyes meeting me head-on as Piper lunges forward with a grin. She's hyper-focused, strong, and I match her blow for powerful blow with ease. Why are you out here? There's a training room back at the headquarters. Piper rolls her eyes, wiping the sweat from her brow with the back of her hand. The less I'm around those traitors, idiots, the better. I cannot hold my tongue as well as most of you. She launches herself forward again, and I have to step back a few paces as she pushes against the pressure of our crossed weapons. I lose my purchase against the mighty forest force, skidding, and then she's drawing back, swinging again. Shit! I'm used to one-on-one combat, used to the intricacies of it. But Piper is no creature, and it's been a hell of a long time since I sparred with one of my own kind. The staff makes a solid arc with my legs, and in a vain attempt at darting out of her way, I find myself falling in an inelegant sprawl. Whoops! The world tumbles until it reorients itself when I land on my back. My head tilted back to see Piper standing above me with a far too smug smile upon her face. The hilt of her staff just barely grazes the arc of my very exposed throat, and I weigh out my options very carefully. Gotcha. Now, is there really any question what I'm going to do here? I seize the moment, taking advantage of her smug satisfaction and attempting distraction. You're beautiful. Her brow draws together, her plump lips curling into a snarling. What the fuck? I swing upward with my staff, the angle terrible, but not entirely useless as it serves its purpose, hitting hers out of her hands. I jump up, brushing dirt and leaves and whatever other crap was in the gnarly forest from my trousers, watching as Piper holds up her hands in defeat, her chest heaving. She eyes her staff was too far away for her to reach. Do you yield? Piper steps closer, taking my weapon in her hands and shoving. We're nose to nose, her lips butter breaths away from mine, and Piper is hot as hell. Hotter. To you? Never. She pauses, eyeing me warily. So, what did you actually come here for, then? You've been avoiding me. Piper purses her lips, averting her gaze. Oh, it's so sad. No, don't be sad. She has been actively staying clear of me since the day after I woke up. I've given her space and respected that the things I divulged would be difficult for her to swallow. But as time drags on, we draw closer to a point where we'll have to face all of this corruption. And, well, I need Piper. The only other hunter I could truly bring myself to trust, but most importantly, my friend. It's almost done, you know? At least, I hope. She takes the dirt with the toe of her boot, as wonderfully defiant as if she always is. I know, want to get it over with, right? She'll crawl out of wherever hole he's scurried into, and everything will burn. Her eyes are fierce and bright, which finally does to meet my gaze. Not everything. What he's done. She stops again, anger rolling off of her in a messy waves that break over me, almost leaving me breathless. If I have to kill her. She became what a Azazel did. I will tear the enforcers to the ground to avenge her if I have to. You better have a really good fucking explanation for all this, you know? Now this decision here will have implications for later on in the story. And honestly, this bottom one is the one I gotta go with. Because there is really nothing that can excuse whatever he's done. How could he? He's killed people. His own people. His husband, indirectly, but still, imagine that. I can't imagine it. I look at Piper, knowing with everything I have that I could never hurt her. I love her too much. It's unfathomable, and he'll pay for it. Fucking right he will. Then her shoulders slump, and she slowly looks around at the mess she's made of the clearing. I should go. I need to clear my head in a way that doesn't involve beating the shit out of trees. Or me, or you. I'll see you around, yeah? Without so much as a second glance, Piper turns and disappears into the forest. I understand why she's hurting so much, and just wish I could help. And speaking to Harry, maybe I can. I approach the ibex with the same level of caution and awareness I always do, even though I'm now quite well acquainted with its inhabitants. Blah blah blah. Heh. I'll get the words out eventually. There's a young woman standing at the door as she straightens when I approach. Something in that single movement, not to mention her attire and the pistols that decorate her holster, suggests a trained fighter. But when she meets my eyes, there's only curiosity there, not wariness. I remember Harry mentioning a guard who works at the ibex sometimes, Lux or Raven's partner. Perhaps this is her. When she'll walk, I assume. I nod, offering her a small smile. She approaches me for a moment, then her wariness fades. She sticks out a hand with great enthusiasm and grins from ear to ear when I take it. It's nice to finally meet you. Now, remember the comment about being Raven's partner? Look at the necklace. Raven's wearing the other half. And right here, puncture marks. 2 things. The puncture marks means a vampire feeds on her, and the necklace indicates which vampire. And Raven's eyes are red, crimson, because she feeds on humans. Finn's eyes are not because he doesn't feed on a normal human. He feeds on someone else. Likewise, may I enter? She inclines her head and steps aside, arms crossed. I'm not going to stop you. I give her a polite nod and quickly move along, able to feel her eyes on my back until the door swings shut and spares me from her attention. And you meet her sooner if you romance Finn. It's golden time, even though it's daytime. The place is just as dilapidated as it was when I first visited, but towards the altar at the end, it seems someone has been cleaning up. The floor is swept, a crimson cloth covers the altar, and seated upon it with her booted feet legs swinging, attention firmly fixed on what looks like an embroidery hoop, is Elaine. I wait a moment before approaching to give her some time to notice me, but her eyes and hands remain focused on her task. Eventually, I give up and just go up to her. She likely knows I was coming from down the street anyhow. She's anything like most demons I've encountered. Sure enough, no surprise at Elaine's brown eyes when she looks up at me, smiling warmly and setting her project aside. Miss Locke. I stop and blink, and Elaine frowns immediately, presses her finger to her lips. I apologize. Did I misspeak? Oh, no, I'm just so used to being addressed as Hunter, I suppose. In fact, Elaine is probably one of the first people who doesn't use my profession like it's a prefix to my whole identity. So perhaps I can't exactly blame them for that. Still, it's a surprisingly welcome after recent events to just be, of course, I won't call you Hunter. You do not hunt me. Elaine says it laughingly, but something like a mild chill trickles down my spine, coupled with the realization I best keep my eyes peeled. She isn't alone. There's a mullenness to her aura that doesn't put me at ease like he does, and as Elaine stares at me with open amusement and interest, I can't put it into words, but somehow I think I know why. I heard you encountered the creature. Yes, I did. Did Omen tell you? Elaine shakes her head, then shrugs. I'm sorry, though, Raiden. I take it you saw your kin in that Chimera? This time it's definitely a chill that runs down my spine. How did you know? I've heard it crying, and I found it so strange. I didn't investigate, though. Elaine covers her mouth with a hand, her brow furrowed as she stares at the red cloth beneath her seat. I didn't think it was your target. It was sad, not dangerous. You heard it cry? When? A little while ago now. Was a very sad thing. If it were once human. I quickly put a hand to my lips. No one knows that detail yet, aside from those I told, and Lex is just outside the door. Elaine blinks at me slowly, calmly. She tilts her head to the left, then to the right, sizing me up. Then she exhales. Is that disappointment or sadness that I sense? Are you looking for Omen? Not particularly, but there's a distinct and uncomfortable feeling that the more I talk to Elaine, the more likely she'll get upset. That feeling is accompanied by the gut deep knowledge that the princess is not like the prince. She wears a human glamour as firmly and easily as Omen does, and her eyes have the same kind of cast. But she looks at me like a demon looks at a mortal, and I don't know if I want to see the version of me that's reflected in her eyes. Not right now. Yeah, not with Harry and what he's done weighing on my soul like a stone-hard burden. Yes, do you know where he is? Stay here. Lane hops off, grabs her embroidery hook, and ducks into one beside her. As the last flash of her toe vanishes, the frame of the temple also changes. The swept stone floor becomes dusty and cobwebby again, save the imprint of her boots on the ground. She also returns to its dusty state, and the red cloud poured over it just straight up evaporates. An illusion. I didn't even notice. Shows that there was anything wrong with such a large swath of the room. Before I can dwell too much on how Elaine managed it, however, a familiar figure emerges. Woman gives me a once over as he approaches, and the expression on his face is sincerely, almost insultingly sympathetic. You didn't come to pray. No, I didn't. He looks at me again, tail swaying gently. I want to tell him my purpose myself so he won't have to guess, but the words don't come out, because I don't know. At this point, I'm just wandering aimlessly, trying to kill time, to avoid the inevitable. Elaine is gone, so I don't know what I can tell Owen that I haven't already, and I don't know if I could put the questions I really have for him, for anyone, into proper words. Robin, my sister told me you were looking for me. Something like that, yes. I study Omen for a moment. Compared to Elaine, he's closer, maybe even truly comfortable around me. So I shouldn't forget he's not one of us. I must apologize. Omen blinks, then inclines his head. The words come out of nowhere. Even I'm not so sure that it was wise to let them out. But he doesn't seem surprised. Whatever you want to apologize for, it's not necessary. I caused disturbance when I came here. That much I can't deny. I want to be free from my father. I thought then that only I would suffer consequences, not that it would affect others so severely. I was a fool. Powerful things always break something else when they attempt to change. I'm not responsible for the things Harry did. Thank you for saying that. Still, I put this trouble before him. Maybe he wouldn't have been driven to these means otherwise. I frown at him, not because I completely disagree with him, but because it does make me wonder. I've rarely had the chance to converse with a being that's so old. Demons, in particular, have always existed close to human history. Would it matter if you hadn't and he didn't? Or wouldn't it have because this is what he's capable of regardless? Lemon blinks slowly, his head tilted in an almost unnatural way. He folds his hands and studies me for a moment. He looks at some point past my head. There's a faraway look in his eyes that makes me think he's reminiscing, and what I wouldn't give to be able to read his mind. I think you asked a question meant for a hunter. You destroy creatures when they hunt out for others, but you must know that all creatures are capable of harm and of evil. Is it wiser for you to kill someone because of its potential to do harm, or kinder for you to not bet its life on your fear? Either way, I don't think this is what you really want to know. So, going back, this right here is what I love about Omen. He has that naivete because he is still so very new to human culture and just being immortals in general. But he has lived a fucking long time. And so there is that wisdom there underneath the naivete. And this is an expression of that wisdom. So I just love that there's that juxtaposition, that contrast, that mix of wisdom and naivete. Because his life experiences are so different. He's only been in the mortal room for like 2 years, so he's still got a lot to learn. And his main teacher is Alcott. Continuing on. Either way, I don't think this is what you really want to know. That's for me to decide. He's no longer smiling. There's something in his eyes that's less speculative now and more like respect. My sister and I, we have friends in this town, love in this town. We have things to lose. You have my promise to help when you need it, if you need it. And I have faith that you'll make the right choice, whatever your definition of right is. Are you not worried my definition will be different from what you hoped? Maybe, but I'm sure you'll do whatever you think best. I think you're kind, you see. If you weren't, maybe you would have thought less about all of this. Thank you. Omen tips his head this way, then that, contemplative. Few seek advice from a demon. Fewer take it seriously. I wonder if it's fate that I'm here. This place has taught me so many things. That's my You're a prince of demons. Wouldn't you know? I would need older eyes to see something so vast. My father, maybe. Perhaps he would know. Perhaps that's why he doesn't understand why I love your kind. Your fragile, flowing world. Your life so short that could be measured by seasons, as I do. As Alcott puts it, it's his fucking life. Oh, Alcott. I have to learn to laugh hearing that word spill from his mouth. Definitely Alcott's influence. Damn right. So again, you have a chance to condemn him or sympathize with him. And the first time I played this, I admit, I chose sympathize with Harry for everyone except Piper and August, because you're going to have a conversation like this with all of them. But we're going to go with condemn him, because honestly, what he's done is fucking wrong. Because these people have trusted him with their lives, and he's then just threw them over. So there is no coming back from him. I have to confront him soon, as soon as he shows his face. We can't allow this to continue. No, it can't. It won't be easy. I'd rather you not have to stand before him on your own, with no backup. I suspect August will be present. They need closure more than I do. It's a fucking loot, because August has been betrayed. Maybe not the same way that the hunters have, but they have definitely been betrayed in a way that's really fucking hard to come back from. But I don't think you should do anything anyway. If you're sure, I'm sure. Harry is an old, wily soldier. I'd rather not confront him with him knowing that I have your ear, if he doesn't know we're involved in already. But I won't do it unprepared. You have my word. I should go. Shaking my head, I step away, and then I turn and then turn and head for the door. Suddenly the church feels too oppressive. I have to get out. Clear my head. Think. So I know with a faint feeling of dread which way my choices will lead. I can feel Omen's eyes on my back until the door closes. Also, going back to that choice, if you pick sympathize with Harry, whatever you're talking to, it's so fucking disappointed. I hate it. Alcar is waiting for me outside the temple, much to my lack of surprise. I've had the sense he's been keeping an eye on me more than usual since the encounter with the creature. My thanks. Or I might have been convinced that I was mistaken if not for the pale, utter defiance on his face. Stifling a grin, I raised my hands in a gesture for peace and said, no need to put the sensitive wolf today. Waiting for me. I take it you want to talk? Assuming a hell of a lot, aren't you? But right enough. You're about the only exciting thing left in this goddamn town. And the whole gesture vaguely in my direction and can't quite get his meaning. I'm not entirely sure Alcar himself knows what he means either, because the expression on his face is one I can't read. One of the many things I've learned about the half-lycan is either he won't lie or he's helplessly bad at it. It reminds me of the folk stories of wolves and as betrayers and deceivers. Even now, and not just surrounding Alcar, I wonder if those who told the folklore mistook wolves for foxes, or for their neighbors. That's entirely possible. And I just heard a thought that Alcar reminds me of a character from Witcher. I don't know if this is the way he's written in the original books, but in this fanfic series, which is about the only Witcher fanfic I've read, there's a character named Lambert who is a horrible liar and has a horrible potty mouth. And in a way, Alcar reminds me of him. I don't know why. Maybe they're both. The whole debacle? Yeah, that. A pause, almost awkward. So, listen, I'm no good with the whole emotional thing. That's what I'm just here for. I'm just here to handle all your feelings for you, is that it? I love this is hilarious. No, he just, self-expresses better, is all. Makes the wishy-mushy shite not as wishy-mushy and weird. Oh, okay. Anyway, I wanted to ask you if you're doing okay. Oh, I appreciate the effort you took to arrive at that question. What do they say? Effort shows affection or something? Everything is a mess, I suppose. I'm not just going to let all of what we've learned go, if this is what you're worried about. Nah, I didn't think you would. I trust that you won't, and I know you're going to try to do something probably dangerous, or if you won't, they'll force you into it. He says it with such bitterness, with such certainty that I know immediately the sentiment must have come from personal experience. I'll do my utmost to prove them unnecessary. I won't be caught dead by anyone else saying this, but if you do, I'd appreciate that. I'm sure you would. Then he inhaled deeply, left it out slow. Still struggling with those feelings? Only all the time, always. Well, same you and you for your girlfriend. Hunters are crazy about this whole loyal this and service that, and especially Piper's Pepper getting involved. Though I'd like to be within eye and earshot of her finally losing it. But she's been here for as long as me. And believe it or not, I do care about decent people getting thrown out like trash. Again, you and her. This is an interesting way of putting it. So, humor me. What are you up to? Again, I have to decide what am I going to do. Now, I already know what I'm going to do. But this is, at the time, I had no idea what I was going to do. So I picked Sympathize with Harry, except for Protagonist, like I said. But I am just, nope. I am a Hufflepuff, and just the fact of what he's done, it goes against everything that makes me a Hufflepuff. We're going to come down again. I look away. Every time someone asks this, every time I ask myself the same question, I hope that the answer would come easier by now. That I'd be more sure, but it changes almost by the minute. I'll confront him. I'm a general, and though he's my superior, I stop there. Algar has been remarkably upfront with me about everything, despite his original warning to not trust anyone in this town, including himself. That doesn't mean Hunter's business is for his 4 years. That's an old, easy excuse. In truth, it's more that I don't want to say the words. Make them real. That's rough, buddy. Now, I haven't actually seen this part, but I know this is the reference to Avatar. It's in Tumblr. That's how I know about it. Even though I've only seen like the first few episodes. I am sorry. Should you be here? He dragged you into this, branded you, knowing full well you were just an easy blame for something he's explicitly done. And you can't see it in this sprite, but the brand is right there. You can see it a little bit right there. And Piper said in the festival chapter that she watched them give him the brand. And that she carries some guilt into that. Yeah, he sure fucking did, and you won't catch me red-handed doing the same thing, blaming people not a part of this pyramid of shit. Anyway, that's good. Better so, but, gives me some peace of mind. At least till it actually fucking happened. What would you have done if I said I understand where he came from inside with him? The possibility is ridiculous, but my curiosity burns, stings. And if we're already ass deep in this kind of tense talk, what is one more match to the flames? Then you would have been what I expected. I have no faith in Hunter's Day, maybe 2 or 3, and that won't change with your stellar example. But from me to you, thanks. Well, I'd better go and put more drinks on somebody else's tab before this town starts missing me. Tell me you aren't trying to drain Finn's wealth within your lifetime. Oh, I wouldn't worry. Broke into the catacombs once just to see how rich our man is, and he's loaded. He would. It's not as though the treasure would sit there and marinate if you don't spend it. You could pay taxes. Pay taxes to your boss. You have a point there. I have an appointment to catch with my enforcer anyway. Wow, I'll pray for you. Thank you. With a laugh and a shake of his head, Alcar shoves his hands deep into his pockets and ambles away towards the tavern's direction. I wait until he's out of sight before heading my own way. Next up on the tour. The sun shyly disappears beyond the horizon as I step into the magic shop, passing what I assume to be as his final customer for the night with a smile. He looks exhausted when I catch his eye across the counter, but he still smiles warmly when I approach. Excuse me. You look tired. So do you. Ezra has a quiet laugh, and Coco peeps loudly at him, appearing from between his feet with her usual attitude. Cats, am I right? He rolls his eyes before looking down at the feline, raising a dark brow at her almost accusingly. No, absolutely not. She chirps at him in return, and I swear she almost looks angry. I'm sorry? Sorry, it's nothing. Then he gently nudges Coco with his foot, and with a defiant flick of her tail, she darts to the purple curtain and into the back room. Cats, eh? He picks up a pile of books stacked by the cash register and inclines his head for me to follow him. Yeah, I've had cats most of my life as pets. At one point we had 7. Right now we have 3. And they're all little shits in their own way. In fact, yeah, mine is in here with me, giving himself a bath. I oblige, watching as he pops each one back into its rightful place. So, how's your day? Are you feeling okay? He turns, eyeing my side, knowing full well his magic healed me perfectly and yet still finding the time to worry for me. Oh, sweetie. So, unconsciously, I still press my hand over the place where the wound once lay, an almost phantom ache settling deep in my ribs, as if my body is aware that there should be something there. Physically, I'm fine. The last book gets pushed between his shelf mates and Ezra turns to face me slowly, concern etched upon his face. Just physically? You need to figure this out before everyone gets hurt. I clear my throat, offering him a clipped smile. I just feel like I'm in limbo with the whole Harry situation. I'm supposed to be on my way to see August right now, and yet you can't bring yourself to go. I shake my head, letting my hand fall numbly to my side. Still, I tried to keep the true extent of my worry off my face, pretending that the hurt bitter undercurrents of the knowledge I was burdened with don't leave me feeling nauseous. For now, the only thing I can try to do is be honest, but try to be strong. For them. For all of them. No, I can't. Ezra smiles at me, an almost sympathetic edge to it. I do hope he isn't pitying me, but then Ezra is so very kind that I can't view it as anything other than innocent. That's just the way Ezra is. Come, let me make you some tea. I nod, actually thinking how I could very much do with a cup of something warm to clear my head right now. I'd like that, thank you. Personally, I don't drink much tea. Because I have a very strong sweet tooth. And the only way I can tolerate tea is if I put creamer and sugar in it. Same with coffee. Apparently there are some people who just have a predilection. Who they can't stand tea or coffee without lots of other shit in it. So if I'm going to dump a bunch of other shit in it, why bother having it in the first place? Anywho, Ezra fills the kettle, placing it upon the stove and stepping back towards me as it begins to whistle quietly. So, I assume Gus will be with you when you meet with Harry? If so, I imagine you and them will be more than capable of handling anything he tries to throw at you. And I've been meaning to ask, if you don't mind, of course. He stares me down with those wide, wise eyes. How are you going to approach him exactly? I mean, you've had time to process all this, a little anyway. And again with the question, and of course, same answer as I've given everybody. I bite my lip, almost wanting to hold back the rage I feel boiling and bubbling in my chest. The things Harry has done, the things the enforcers have done. Centuries of pain and suffering, tearing children from their families and turning them into monsters. Yeah, that's another thing. It hasn't been brought up before, but the lore that the developers have provided, hunters, once they are initiated, they are basically raised in academies together with other hunters, raised and taught by enforcers. And older hunters, well, at least the ones who survived. And they rarely see their families, rarely have contact with them. So, yeah. My cat just left. I'll put a stop to this. Finish it once and for all. He reaches for me across the table, taking my hand in his own and holding it tightly. You'll be careful, won't you? Promise me that. I study him for a long minute, wanting to respond immediately and with conviction, but I'm unsure of what I might come to face. I'll do my best. We sit in silence for a little while, only to have it broken by a quiet tap, 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 tap. Now imagining that he answered tap, 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 tap. I look around, then down, realizing it's coming from underneath the floor. Ah, of course. Finnegan. Ezra beams when I look at him, and it pleases me to see them so happy once again. We both stand, and Ezra reaches to unlatch the lock that keeps the opening to the catacombs locked, while I pull back the rug that covers it. When golden eyes appear in the darkness, I feel a chill roll down my spine. He immediately goes to Ezra, drawn to him like a moth to a flame, and he presses a quick chaste kiss to his lips. You're so pretty together. I thought so from the first. Hello, Angel. I think that's the first time we see him call Ezra Angel. They lace their fingers, staying close, and Finn turns his attention to me. I came as soon as I sensed you were here. Robin is on her way to see August. Finn crinkles his nose at that, apparently unimpressed. I see. Well, I was hoping I could steal you away for a little while, actually. Oh? Nothing nefarious. Do not fear. Fiero wants to speak with you. Oh? Does he have more information? He shrugs. I'm not sure. He's not exactly a man of many words, so if he's asked for you, then I take it that he has at least something to tell you. Yes, he definitely isn't just wanting to see how you're doing. I see. Well, considering I'm still avoiding going to see August, we could go now. Excellent. Ezra clears his throat, his lashes dipping as he squeezes Finn's hand. His prosthetic comes alive, flickering in kind. Baby! You'll return? I always do, don't I? Ezra's quiet laugh is infectious, his eyes twinkling at the corners. exudes happiness. You do. Come then, Robin, into the hole you go. Ezra and I both look at him with blank expressions as Finn merely rolls his eyes, sighs, and ushers me onwards. Ah! We say goodbye to Ezra, watching as we descend down into the depths of the catacomb tunnels. I drop off the ladder, my feet hitting the dirt below with a thud. Finn inclines his head with a smile, and I follow him into the darkness. A shadowy figure waits for us outside of Finn's quarters, and I smile when I see a shock of white hair and friendly crimson eyes. Hunter Locke, it's a pleasure to see you again. It's good to see you too, under better circumstances this time. He does look better. Actually, I can't remember. I think he looks much the same. I don't think they changed his part for this. If I look hard enough, I swear I could see his mouth twitch. Piero studies me with a certain intensity for a moment, and I feel a strange sense of calm washing over me, but he frowns. I blink and you'll miss it thing, but I see it before his face falls into that carefully calculated stoicism. I will not keep you long. I just wanted to thank you for finding me. I owe you a debt of gratitude for assisting with my extraction. I gather you'll be meeting with the Lieutenant General soon. I swallowed thickly, my throat tight. All of a sudden, there it is again. That uncertainty, that push and pull of conflicted emotions that thrills in my gut and almost suffocates me. I nod a little too quickly, and though Piero doesn't show it, I know he can feel my unease. I will be, yes, but Irene decides to show his face. Finn scoffs at that, leaning against a jagged stone wall with a perfect kind of handsome nonchalance that not many could achieve. If he ever decides to again, if I was him, I'd have left town the second the first body turned cold. Piero continues to watch me, his stare unwavering. Well, the sooner the better. I'd quite like all of this to be over. Indeed. Finn nudges him with his elbow, and Piero barely shifts, holding himself like some ancient statue, an almost unmoving stillness. Tell her what you saw in the dungeon before you were rescued. There was a lot of commotion down there the night you killed the creature. They were unorganized, clearly distressed. I watched carefully, and I saw something strange. A hunter, or what was once a hunter. Now, I'm not so sure. I blanched at the thought, remembering the way the creature looked at me as it lunged, teeth bared, and the way that my body told me I was fighting one of my own before I ended its life. His life. It was female, of that much I am certain. She was wailing all night after they shoved her back into one of the cells. They must have been in a rush because they weren't as cautious in hiding her as they had been. She was more whole than the other one, but whatever they've done to her, she's too far gone. Driven mad. Feral, even. I've never felt anything quite like it. An impossible flurry of pain, confusion, but mostly anger. No. Finn steps forward, seeing the way my eyes widen, the way my hands begin to shake. I can't face another. I can't. Robin. I look at Finn, noting his concern over the way my heart lurches in my chest. I simply nod at him, exhaling a sharp breath to refocus. You're sure? The quiet vampire nods, his lips pursed into something that looks like an attempt at a grimace. I am certain, and I'm sorry. It's fine. It's expected, actually. Just hurts to hear, to have it confirmed. Absolutely. I nod, smiling sadly. We will not let you face it alone. You will never be alone. Piero shows the look with Finn before nodding his agreement. I will leave you now. Thank you, Piero. He offers us a stiff bow as Finn pushes open the door to his quarters, making a beeline for the carafe of scotch upon his desk. Piero casts me a final lingering glance before he disappears into the darkness. I can't help but feel like he sensed something in me that he didn't like. But whatever it was, I'm unsure. I closed the door to his quarters, finding him sitting upon his bed, 2 glasses of his favorite poison clutched in his hands. Would you like one? Looks like you could use it. Of course. Give me that. I pried the crystal tumbler from his grip, nodding my thanks as I bring it to my lips. It's delicious, refreshing, and has just the right amount of burn as it slides down my throat. I almost forget my troubles for a blissful moment. Thank you. He tips his glass towards me before he takes a sip of his own, telling me his approval. I'm miss being drunk, you know? Just the peace it used to bring me. Which wasn't necessarily a good thing, but oh, did I have my fun. His life was wistful, and I wondered how long the vampire lives before they begin to forget their human days. I daren't ask him, for I don't want to sour the mood, but one day, maybe. Surely there are ways for you to become inebriated, even if it's not quite the same. Ben shrugged. Sure, there are. There are many ways, actually, but the buzz wears off before you can really even enjoy it. Besides, there are other ways to find pleasure. I have never gotten that drunk, but there was a time when I first started taking my meds. I forgot that they interacted badly with cold medicine. So I was very dizzy and out of it, and could not, for the life of me, maintain my equilibrium. I couldn't even sit at the computer and do stuff. And I realized it was like being drunk without the fun of getting buzzed. So I've been sort of drunk, but not really. And that's not something I want to actually experience properly. And I'm somehow sure you've explored them all. Going back to the story. I laugh at the way he waggles his brows, pointed ears twitching alongside them. As he watches me, his smile fades, his dark brows drawn together. Robin, I can't help but notice. Something plagues you. He smirks when I raise a single brow, almost accusingly, as if it isn't obvious what plagues me. I mean, would you like to discuss? I shrug, as if the things that bother me are completely earth-shattering. There's so much riding on me, and the decisions I make. I never expected to carry such a burden in coming here. And you shouldn't have to. It isn't fair, what you've had to endure, but you are the strongest and most capable hunter I've ever had the pleasure of knowing. And I have known many in my time. He smiles, tilting his head. Lunaris is lucky to have you on his side. He drops his gaze to his lap, his brow twitching into a frown. Now, tell me, what do you intend to say to dear Harold when you finally face him? His eyes touch my face as if looking for answers I don't know how to give or don't want to give. Yet again, the answer hasn't changed. I pondered my response because, truly, my thoughts are still jumbled, anxiety mounting. The one thing I know for sure is that what Harry has done, is wrong. I confront him and expect straight answers. I want to know why he did it. I just ask that you're careful. No sound-minded man would make the decisions that he has, of that much I'm sure. You don't know how to react being confronted. He's right, and somehow that thought hadn't crossed my mind. But Harry cares for Iris deeply, and they will be by my side. I'm not sure Harry would want to bring harm to Iris, or even myself. Finn looks at me like I've gone mad. He is directly responsible for the death of his husband. You and August are just collateral damage at this point. Good point. I was thought of that. Shit. Sorry. He killed Levi. That seemed like an impossible feat to me for a very long time. Centuries, even. He had James to help him, didn't he? Finn scoffs, and I could tell his frustration is mounting. You've seen his face, right? That pretty scar? He squared up to Leviathan Casimir one-on-one at some point, and he lives to tell the tale. That's where that scar came from. And my sire? I stare at him at the strange way he almost vibrates. Is it fear, maybe? Something long ingrained to him after the hell of a God put him through that the mere God man has him shaken like this. He's ash. I spent centuries terrified of him, watching him take down clans twice the size of my own, with little to no effort, just for fun. Harold Addington put him down in one night with the same ease in which he puts his boots on in the morning. I suppose I should go then. I don't exactly sound convincing. In fact, I think I'd be quite happy to stay down here and hide away from my responsibilities for a little longer. But I must be responsible, unfortunately. Finn shifts to stand, running a hand through his hair, rubbing at his chin. He's twitchy tonight, showing more signs of humanity than I'm used to from him. I know I said it already, but be careful. I smile at him, reaching for the handle of the door. I spot but much bigger, much scarier things than Harold Addington. With words in my mouth, I feel terrible dread washing over me, and Finn notices. Never underestimate your foe, Robin. Farewell, Hunter. Okay, almost done. Getting close to the end of the chapter, obviously, because there's only one person left to talk to. I find August and her aunt staring at their desk. It's rife with papers, streaming different stacks, but without its usual method. They look worse than usual, look despondent, almost as if they'd given up being planned and orderly, but I know that's not the case. August is adept, keeping up with reports moving quickly, a stickler for punctuality. I tap the door once with my knuckles, and they grant me permission to enter with a lazy nod of their head. Days like today make me wonder if I should just pack all of this in and run home to my parents with my tail between my legs. Or maybe become a nomad or something. I know that's not true, but the defeat in their time makes me think they've been like this for some time. I don't think the nomad lifestyle is quite for you, August. They have a laugh, sighing heavily, uncharacteristically slumped in their chair. One day, hopefully soon, we'll be free from the shackles of all this corruption. I'll bring order to Lunaris, or I guess I'll at least die trying. I've never been very good at quitting. I poke at the seemingly never-ending pile of parchments and take a seat before them, pointedly ignoring their macabre declaration. What is all this, anyway? This seems to be more than usual. August shrugged, waving their hand dismissively over the mess. Take your pick, reports, complaints, and all the petty bureaucratic bullshit that Harry usually deals with. I so graciously offered to take some of this work off his hands, but James passed. The witch curled into a snarl, the cheap bear, and the next words are almost venomous, distinctly lacking emotion. Aren't I kind? They're tired, frustrated, overworked, and apparently overcome with bitterness. I don't blame them. In one way, I'm grateful. Seeing them upset and so downtrodden over Harry, I hated it, but this mood doesn't suit them. I truly long for a day where I see them well rested and appreciated. That day will not come until all of this is over, and I'll be damned if I'm going to sit back and watch my enforcer murder themselves. I just want to know you're going to be okay, August. You're working yourself to the bone. Another dismissive wave of their hand, and I gather I'm not going to get much more than that out of them. I will be fine, Robin. I have to be, don't I? I watch. They pinch the bridge of their nose, their weak argument not all that convincing. A quiet knock at the door grabs our attention, and a timid junior pokes their head around the frame, awkwardly raising their hands at August. General Billingham? They raise their brow at him, their impatience clear. What? You asked me, when Lieutenant General returns. Well, he's in his office. I just saw him. Thank you, recruit. You can go now, and do not tell anyone what I asked of you. I see the heavy bob of their throat and the flush that paints their cheeks as August moves to stand, and with a nod the boy scurries away. August and I share a look, and I wonder if they're thinking the same as me, that we're not ready. Or that we don't want this, scared of what we'll learn, and that'll all become real at long last. August places a trembling hand upon my arm, their eyes wide and bright. When they speak, there's a sort of manic edge to the words, their voice. Robin, I need to know how you feel about all this before. I need to know, because I cannot make up my mind. They tighten their grip on me, and for the first time since I've known them, August Wilhelm looks scared. I feel something thick in the air, a kinetic shift, an almost suffocating buzz. August, breathe. They exhale sharply, and their aura is distinctly panicked. I place my hand over theirs and feel a shock as our skin meets, but my touch calms them enough for the air to clear. So relent and don't pull away. It's okay. It's going to be okay. No, it's not. It's not. The magic around their hands. They shake me off, pacing, angry tears trailing their cheeks. Everything I worked for, everything I've stood for. I saw him as my mentor, as a man who raised me with the kindness my father would never even dream of showing me. Was I so blinded by that affection I didn't see the evil in him? My thing. Still going with this one. I shake my head, knowing August is not a bad judge of character. Harry is just good. Good at manipulating or spectacularly talented in disassociation. You want to know, August? None of us knew or could possibly dream it might be him. They sparkled in their eyes. Yes, well, I followed him about with doe eyes, lapping up any scraps of approval he dared to lavish me with. I've always been desperate to be acknowledged and told I'm doing a good job, and he gave that to me in abundance. I don't believe he realizes what he's doing is wrong. But that doesn't excuse it, nor does it make you complicit. I just laughed at that, the maniacal side. No one evil ever sees themselves as so, Robin. I've encountered it enough to know that much. We stand in silence for what feels like forever, both of us gathering our guts, our courage. This isn't going to be easy, or even marginally fun, but shall we? Before I get the chance to finish my sentence, I hear the all too familiar heavy thud of boots in the corridor. And then Lieutenant General Harold Addington appears in the doorway, a smile upon his face. Good evening, both. Unconsciously, I find myself tensing, racing for what's about to come. If only this man was a hunter, someone I could read past the look on his face when faces him in cues. If Harry is an evil man, he's adept at hiding it. His smile is kind, even now, and I wonder if there's any idea what kind of situation he's walking himself into. Sir. Harry nods at me, his eyes look into August, who is quite visibly distressed and poorly attempting to hide it. I look at them, offering them a clipped smile, hoping it might remind them to keep it together. Lest we both fall apart. Harry, it's good to see you, looking well. Their words are forced. Harry doesn't appear to be planning on staying long, his gauntlet, long sword, and coat remaining in place. Instead, his eyes are filled as he crosses the room, stopping in front of the fireplace that flickers invitingly. I have to apologize for my absence. I'm sure you can imagine. I haven't exactly been in the right frame of mind to hold the whole country on my shoulders, let alone Lunaris. I'm sure it's been very difficult for you. They're struggling, mostly failing, to keep the exasperation out of their voice. At this point, I wonder if it's just easier to tear the bandage off the wound and expose the rotting flesh, lest August truly casts a storm upon this building. I step forward, and August stands quickly, their chair scraping along the marble floor. Is something wrong, Augustus? You don't look well. Yes, I want to say, they are falling apart, much like your town, your country. I feel like I'm talking too fast. I quickly wake to the dark tangle of emotions that threatens to engulf me, and I clear my throat. We need to talk to you. Harry nods, still poised, still apparently completely clueless. I look to August, and they are in no state to initiate this conversation. Their hands are shaking, and I gather that we're just seconds away from my messy display of untamed magic. Robin? Harry quickly looks between us, finally focusing upon me when he sees that August is the lost cause. Speak now. You're beginning to alarm me. You're aware of what you're doing, what you've done. The dead hunters, the missing hunters. He blanches, his skin going pale, but he's no fool. Harry shifts from someone who's just been caught with blood upon their hands to someone painfully in denial in a split second. I don't know what you're talking about. I ordered you to Lunaris to solve this mess, and you stand here and accuse me? August scoffs loudly. And you will stand here and lie to us so easily? What evidence do you have of the supposed indiscretion you accuse me of? He says it quickly, defensively, but the words are heavy upon his own tongue. Then I use the most powerful weapon I possess. James. Harry freezes, truly turning pale now, all color draining from his ruddy cheeks and his eyes wide with shock and fear and pain at the utterance of his husband's name. I swear that if I listen close enough, I can hear the furious pounding of his heartbeat as it tries to tear free from his chest. He swallows thickly, then he laughs. Of course he does. So it's a mannequin, the laugh of a desperate man. You spoke with him again? For the briefest moment, I feel sorry for him. When he looks at me, almost longingly desperate for even a scrap of information on his dearly departed. It seems selfish that I would be the one James would choose to communicate with, but he was a good man through and through. He could see Harry's madness, knew the right thing to do. Oh boy. This is a tough choice. Do I tell Harry that James loves him? Or do I tell him that James wanted him to stop? Well, the last thing he said was tell Harry I love him. And he did write Harry that note asking him to think about it. Not necessarily strong. Decisions. Okay, I'm gonna roll a dice. I got one right here. No. We go with this one. James doesn't want this, Harry. None of us want this. You have to start now before it gets even worse. I look at August, and they're still seething, their jaw tightly clenched, hands balled into fists at their side. They second their breath and drop their gaze from Harry as if they feel too much shame in looking at him. For a fleeting moment, Harry looks wounded. You must stop, Harry. It's already gone too far. He frowns, dropping his gaze, but there is no warmth in him anymore. Not even the disapproval of his lost beloved can shame him now. I will see it through. I have to. I owe it to mankind. You disappoint me. August's words are venomous, biting. Tell us what it is. The blood. The election against them when they're merely children? Harry drags trembling fingers over his face, and in that gesture it could easily be that 20-something enforcers that I saw in my dreams. He looks lost. He closes his eyes, and when next speech, I can hear a lifetime worth of pain in his voice. Let me have some water here. I've been talking a lot. I'm going to mute the microphone. Okay, that should be better now. Of course it was. Is. What else could it possibly be? It's always blood, isn't it? Oh, God. Damn it. I did not mean to do that. I'm tired here. Almost once for Christmas after I'm done for the night. I am sorry I hurt you, Augustus. I thought you might understand. August bristles at that, and I sense some seismic shifts in the way they hold themselves. They angrily swipe the silent tears that streak their cheeks, and magic throws about their fingers in messy undulations. I thought you were a friend, a father even. You kill people, Harry. Our people. Magic again. We swore to protect them as they swore to protect mankind. We are responsible for them. They put their lives in our hands and trust that we will not put them in danger. I take a step closer, placing myself in front of them, between them. We take them from their families when they're children and raise them to believe we're giving them the chance to save the world, and all we gave them was a curse. You took advantage of their trust in you, and you sentenced them to die the second you placed a vial in their hands and told them to drink. Harry watches them with an almost deluded level of disbelief, as if he couldn't possibly imagine August defying him in such a way. And what of mankind, Augustus? They'll overrun us one day, sooner than you think. I place my hand upon August's arm, tugging gently at them as I move 2 steps forward towards him. But August shakes me off. I'd rather mankind die an honest death instead of turning into fucking monsters. They shove a finger in Harry's direction, their cheeks peak with anger. You are wrong. Their voices are rash of itself, a lost, almost childlike pain running through their words, harsh enough that Harry flinches. Though, the expression is still starting to cold. August, do you not see? I wanted us to be on even footing, and came to realize how unfair it is that they hold such an advantage over us. They can do things we could never even dream of. We have these hunters just at our disposal. The type of potential that lies within them is beyond anything that we can imagine. Oh my God. At our disposal. Shit. That's crazy. It didn't hit me until just now. Oh. Oh. Then he turns his gaze to me, and he smiles. Do you realize what this could mean for you? How much more you could be? Then he makes an almost arrogant, greedy noise. In that moment, I see the hair that I thought I knew, that August thought I knew, turn to ash, replaced by a man driven mad by frustration and now grief. Instead of asking, am I ready to take on our enemies, you would think, there is no stopping me. Deplorable, unforgivable. I forgot, there is this one. Now, there are three practical ways to end this. One, I've only done it once, because they would kill me to do it more than once. I had to know, so I did it. But the other two options, if you condemn Harry every time, they'll still show up. But the other option, you have to sympathize with him in order for it to be a possibility. And I can't. Not as Robin. She would not sympathize with him in the slightest. When the initial rush of commingled horror and fury wins, I clear my throat and address her with as much confidence as I can muster. Tell us what you did to them, how you did this, so we know how to undo you. Harry appraises me, clearly not impressed with the tone in which I give him. That's wrong. Sorry, I'm a writer. It can't be helped. But he considers me regardless. You're curious to know how I made them better? How I can help even the odds? I am. Tell me how you made me better. I tried to feign interest, hoping to appeal to Harry's arrogance. He might have been driven to desperation, but I could see his side. He's proud of his idea. So, addressing the fact that in my head, my hunter is small. She deliberately dresses in a way to emphasize her femininity, her delicate look, because it makes people underestimate. And she'd have dressed carefully for this meeting with Harry. She's been prepared to fight, just in case. But she'd also have dressed and styled her hair in such a way to emphasize how small and delicate she was, especially because both August and Harry tower over her. So she's giving him this look of these big brown eyes and basically just looking like she admires him. I wish I could draw so I could demonstrate what that looks like. So I'm just picturing it in my head. He hums a sound of approval and begins. A hunter is just a vessel. They are well trained and disciplined, not always lovely, but assigned to kill. It is, I know you are familiar. No shit. We have provided you with nothing but the best tools to take on your target. Even the most meager of reps are turned into seasoned soldiers, resilient individuals, remarkable results. However, besides disappointed, remarkably uninspired. Disgustful something like throw at his cow's comment. Remarkably uninspiring, you say? The anger I feel is matched in kind with August. The aura is palpable, the air brimming with electricity. August is no hunter, but they were raised to be the best, conditioned to be nothing but the best. It was practically written at their birth. I know the words are sharp, hitting home, but I still need August to control their emotions. I need this conversation to happen. They feel my gaze on them, and they look to me, eyes wide, like an animal ready to pull. They're imploring me to continue while they still can. I could see the disdain in them, too. I can only spare them a look to beg them to calm their fury despite all. And there's a moment where it doesn't seem they can will it back, but then it subsides. Yeah. You learn a bit more about August's story, but the way Harry phrased it would definitely have hit a nerve with August. Harry waits, And when he's content there will be no more distractions, he continues. I know it's upsetting, but please no, I'm trying to help you. I merely wanted to uplift you with this initiation. The initiation was meant to prepare you, protect you even. We do not go onto the field without knowing the danger. No experience losses, some form or another. His speech cracks for a mere second. I know. I know the loss he talks about. I've seen it. But it's bad enough. As quickly as it goes, his posture uprights again. The elixirs and means to promising ends and make you as strong as them, as perceptive as them, as dangerous as them. How can we be a player on this board if we aren't even considered equals? We bore this in mind not to make you monsters, but to be better than them. Harry continues, and he's enchanted with his own words. To be better than them is what he considers a possible means to change us. I wouldn't be surprised if he told us he was disappointed in our humanly designed. The drawback, or curse if you would put it, is merely an unfortunate side effect. Like all science, there is trial and error. I've seen errors and made strives to correct them. Just like the chimera. I think Harry might be irritated with how plainly I lay out that I already know, but instead he nods, something like respect crosses his features. And as your speculation has led you to believe, yes, the chimera is such a result. And then his face drops at the name. Clearly, you're perceptive of how much so a question, but bear in mind that this is a sacrifice for me, too. A sacrifice for you? Excuse me, are you putting your life on the line? Are you risking your life with these experiments? No. Then why didn't you take it? August finally finds his voice again, but it's hoarse instead of spilling from every word. If the consequences were so great and you were so desperate, then why didn't you take it upon yourself? Speaking of sacrifices like you count them as your own, but you still use others for your own means. Playing with creation by its whims and passionate side the victims of unfortunate accidents. How are we expected to believe in your sacrifice when it barely comes across that you understand where we stand? Where we stand. You used us. Harry looks at both of us. This time, without remorse, and the same play that is unfamiliar. I don't remember Harry looking so scornful. The sacrifices are my own. The blood is about in my hands, and it is a burden I am willing to carry if it means you can defeat them. You can reduce yourselves to tools if you wish. What I do is for the greater good. I'm expected to lead them, to guide them, make sure our path is set straight. I may not partake in all your battles, but that doesn't mean I don't lose myself in this war. He turns back to me now and raises his chin, staring past his nose at me. Tell me, Hunter Locke, provided you had the choice to find a way to protect that which you love as I have, would you do it? Would I? The question roused around in my brain, as do all the other words I've stood witness to, but more quickly than I had thought, my gut responds. Would I do everything to protect Piper? Absolutely. I would. There's a pause, and Harry exhales. His eyes flutter shut. He smiles with some relief. When he opens them, they are less harsh, more inquisitive to us, as though the three of us had a trivial spat. Then Hunter Locke, I hope you understand why this must continue, and why I expect your cooperation. This is where your three endings come into play. The third ending is only possible if you agreed with Harry in the previous decision, and that's when you actually go along with the plan. But since I didn't agree with Harry, I only have these two options. I can pretend to go along and freak August out, or I can not pretend and not freak August out. Now, shortly after this is the end of the chapter. The very first time I played this, I went with the first option. And, yeah, I didn't really like how it played out, so I will go with the second option. The look almost shoots me as sharp, incredulous, the expression cracking open to reveal a vulnerability I've never seen before. It's beautiful, but frightening in its own way, as if I can hear them say, "No, don't." I hold their gaze, hoping they can see what I'm doing, but they trust me. Please. They exhale sharply, their eyes frantically flicking between Harry and I, and then they nod. It's quick enough for Harry to miss, because his focus is upon me, and me alone. I'm the one he needs. I nod, but I do not utter the words, because if I did, I'd be lying. Apparently, it's enough to fool him, because Harry smiles. That's end of chapter 8. So next time, we'll probably do the next two chapters together, because they're kind of short, individually. Uh, mm, I'll save it here. Yeah, so that's it for tonight. That was a lot. It's just that I really, really wanted to do the part where August fucks it on you. That's when, even when I saw this Piper walks it on you. She's not nearly as embarrassed. Because she's Piper. So she's not embarrassed. But, yeah, that's it for tonight. My voice is dying. Yeah, next time we'll probably finish the main story, and then probably after that I will do maybe all 3 short stories, because they're really short and they're really fun. The 3 short stories are maybe a chimera or probably a fucking cat. Basically, you're sent on a wild chimera hunt, and it's different depending. I mean, the general plot is the same, but it's slightly different depending on who you romance. So, of course, I'll be doing it with the Piper romance. After that is called Till Death, and basically, you commit yourself to your loved one. It's really sweet. And lovely art. And then there's a third one that was just released, a Halloween episode that was released just this past Halloween. And you get to see everybody in Halloween costumes. And there's one new graphic that's really cool with everyone in costume. And they're not planning on any further DLC, but they are revamping the game for release on Steam and maybe Switch, but definitely on Steam. And the DLC will be incorporated into that. So that will include some other goodies that aren't included in this version of the game. But I don't know if I'm going to live stream any other romance routes for this game. I am considering live streaming Arcade Spirits once I finish with all the content for when the night comes. That's actually the game that really got me into visual novels, so it would behoove me to pay tribute to that. That one's slightly different because you do actually get to design a character. There isn't any options as I would like, but they're working on a sequel that will have more options for customizing your character. But anyway, yeah, we're almost done with the story. I hope you're enjoying it. And if you do want to see the not safe for work version of Piper's picture from chapter 7, no, chapter 8, excuse me, buy the game yourself. Because she's completely buck naked in that picture, so I didn't want to risk showing it on Twitch. But yeah, she's fucking gorgeous. And there's a reason I love her. She's my wife. So I hope you have a good evening or afternoon or morning whenever you watch this. And thank you for joining me on this journey. Bye.